You're listening to Making the Cut, the mostly true life story of a retired surgeon from 1C Productions.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Seitz, founder and president of 1C Productions. This episode contains explicit language and adult content. It is intended for mature audiences only.
Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. You, dear listener, have been with me through my struggles to find my identity and where I belong. The formative event of my life was my mother abandoning me in post-war Germany when I was 4. To survive, I reinvented myself from an Egyptian toddler into a proud German. Then uprooted again into a noble British schoolboy. And then once more into an Egyptian teenager where I faced the calamitous death of my father. I found my way out of Egypt and into the most prestigious medical school in London. There I encountered insidious racism. In those years, I sought love and got it mixed up with sex. I found a sense of belonging by joining the university rowing crew, and then surgery became my world. By this point in my journey, you, dear listener, have seen me transform from a lost, scared, abandoned little boy to a young medical student, confident in my life's direction. I may not have acknowledged or dealt with all the other emotional scars left by my upbringing, but I've managed to find the love of my life and the good path forward into adulthood. Or so I thought. The taste of Boston, or more precisely, surgical life at Mass General, confirmed that my dream of wanting to become a surgeon. I could see no better career path, no nobler cause to dedicate my future. The best part was Victoria would be by my side. It was now January 1, 1968.
No! Put me down!
I carried Victoria across the entranceway of our tiny flat. She hooked her arm about my neck while she kicked off her shoes, and I dropped her at our destination, our new bed. We fell into each other's willing arms. So began our new life together at 15 Albany Street. On the west facade of Albany Street, bordering the eastern length of Regent's Park, John Nash designed a row of elegant Georgian row houses in the 1820s. At the Marylebone end is the Church of the Holy Trinity, adjacent to the Great Portland Street tube station on Euston Road, where Albany Street runs northwards past Regent's Park Army Barracks toward Camden Town. My Victoria had done well in finding us a home. The aura of happiness from our honeymoon, our time in Antigua, where we had focused solely on each other, settled in here, in our cozy little nest. Our nest. Small and intimate and meeting my expectations for cheerfulness and sunlight. In Manchester, without the brightness of daylight, I had withered. In London, the mix of sunshine beaming through the windows and Victoria's magnetic and sensual presence engulfed us in a bubble of euphoria. I felt complete, deeply immersed and secure in a blissful union. The house in which our flat lay had a black front door with a traditional brass knocker. It faced the famous White House flats across the street and backed onto the splendor of Regent's Park's Rose Garden. Our furnished flat was one flight up, an oversized shoebox. Our front door led down a narrow corridor to a kitchenette past a bathroom with a full-size tub and a mirror over the sink. Off the corridor was a carpeted living area with a marble-mantled fireplace and lofty floor-to-ceiling windows. To the right was our bedroom, with a dresser in front of another floor-to-ceiling window, leaving barely enough room for a double bed and nightstand. I faced 5 months of earnest studying, mostly at home, to prepare for the General Medical Council's qualifying exams. Success meant I'd qualify as a doctor. Only afterward would I have time to arrange our wedding reception. After that, I knew I would become fully engulfed in 2 6-month stints as medical, then surgical house officer. In the meantime, Victoria needed to complete her 3rd year of medical school, then be promoted to her 4th and last year of school, followed by the GMC exam and 2 house officer jobs. So much for both of us to accomplish before we could really consider training in America. Our respective worlds revolved around the life that would ultimately make us physicians. Different schedules, different hospitals, but similar goals and lifestyles. I both highly anticipated and slightly dreaded the coming 18 months. We were not back in London for long before I realized the studying had engulfed us, sapping our spontaneity and liveliness. Victoria and I became 2 separate individuals as we drifted from the lushness of love into the dry, impassionate deserts of learning. The only respite from our respective work schedules was to go for a long weekend to a childhood Isle of Wight home. We soon began calling it the Isle of Serenity. It so decompressed and recalibrated us to the normal rhythms of life. Let's try and go to the island this weekend.
I'll check with Mummy.
Well?
We'll catch the 1:03 train from Waterloo, connecting to the 2:15 ferry to Ryde. Mummy will meet us. There's no food in the house. We'll have to drive to the shops. I'll cook dinner, or we can go for Chinese.
Even as I pictured the travel, I could feel the stress begin to unravel from my shoulders.
I thought the next day we could do Culver Downs.
I love driving on top of the chalk cliffs of Culver Downs. The area is wild, protected and pristine, with an occasional flock of sheep. Its utter peacefulness stood in stark contrast to the hustle and bustle of medical school. From there, the view of the sea is magnificent, a spectacular view of the English Channel, sparkling with 1,000 points of diamond sunlight, and in the distance, the coast of France. Sounds perfect. Like you. Shelley, have you seen our marriage certificate? I asked soon after our return from across the Atlantic, holding it out for her to view. She looked it over, grasping it in both hands.
Oh, it's probably a fake. Much nicer to live in sin after all.
She dropped the green-colored document into my hands. I don't think Shirley accepted me yet. I was still a wog, not yet embraced as a son-in-law. She probably did not think me good enough for her offspring, hoped her daughter would find an Englishman. As long as we were not linked officially, she could cherish her secret hopes. Victoria was, after all, her baby, her precious daughter, who
could have married anyone in the world.
I admired my wife for her fortitude, but wished she would occasionally defend me. Despite her feelings about me, though, Shirley fantasized a grand wedding for her only daughter.
Darling, I can now arrange for the wonderful wedding you deserve. We'll get you a white dress with a train that extends 3 or 4 feet behind you. A ring bearer.
A ring bearer?
Yes, we'll need a cute ring bearer, bridesmaids and grooms, lots of flowers, and, of course, a tiara.
With Shirley's mental challenges, I could not imagine this glamorous, expensive affair going forward. Sharing a look with Victoria, I knew she couldn't see it happening either.
All my friends will be there. We'll have champagne, lots of it, and canapes heaped with caviar.
Who was going to arrange all this, and who was going to pay? Shirley caught Victoria and me looking at each other.
Oh, don't worry about it, darlings. I'll arrange everything.
Bye, my darling. Have a good day studying.
I set up my study schedule for the exam the minute Victoria left for school in the morning. I reasoned that there would only be a finite number of practical questions based on a finite body of information we had been taught. My gut sense was that the examiners could only compose questions from a predetermined pool of vital knowledge in each field from grounds we had covered. These would constitute the essay questions. Working on the assumption that common things occur commonly, I drew a Gaussian bell curve for the frequency each question had been asked during the past 4 years, information I culled from past exam papers that were bound in a volume in the library. A distinct pattern of the most frequently asked questions emerged for each discipline, so I reviewed those topics first. These subjects seemed the most important medical and surgical problems patients complained of. I then made lengthy lists of all the other topics I would have to study, developing a strategy for answering the essay questions in 30 to 45 minutes. By first writing an outline on the top of the paper, and then fleshing them out in essay form below it, using the headings I had developed in the outline. If I ran out of time to write the entire essay, the examiner would at least have an idea of what my comprehensive answer would have been by seeing the outline. When I finished prioritizing the information and making my lists, I panicked. So many topics, so little time. How could I, a painfully slow reader, reread my notes to refresh all this minutiae in the precious little time between now and the exams? As I scanned down the lists I'd made, I did not remember even having learned some of the material in the first place. How could I accomplish this? I leaned back in my chair to think. Number 1. Graduate of Burnage. Number 2. Medical student at University College of London. Number 3. Husband to Victoria Perfect. Climbing impossible mountains to achieve unreachable identities was becoming my specialty. Within a week, dog-eared books, folders of notes, and endless to-do lists converted our small living room into a jungle of papers. I pinned notes and lists to our curtains, taped them to the side of our only bookshelf, and even shifted some of them to the back of the toilet door. When I finished reviewing a topic, I walked through the Rose Garden in Regent's Park to clear my mind and get some cool air. Although my brain felt like a jumbled mush of porridge, seeing and smelling the roses helped consolidate the material I covered. Occasionally, Victoria gave me a shopping list, and I walked to the Sainsbury Market down the road.
I hope your work goes well, darling. Make sure you eat something. I'm off to the hospital. See you Sunday evening.
On weekends, when she was on call in the hospital, I packed up my books, looking forward to a change of scenery. Taking the bus across the Thames to the southern districts of London, to Blackheath, staying in Mother's empty flat, broke the dullness of studying in one place. There I continued reviewing in my forced solitude, despite the dislike of being alone. Even with the occasional call from Victoria to liven my spirits, I could not make myself bear the solitude very long. When my resolve to read reached its end, I walked in Greenwich Park to the Observatory and Maritime Museum. Standing on the heights, I took in the view of London to the north of the Thames. As I walked along the footpaths that meandered among old oak trees, I thought about the stress of work and the fatigue it caused, both Victoria's and mine, and how it had put distance between us. We felt like familiar strangers once more. How long had it been since we made love, or even hugged? A week? Several weeks? As busy physicians, was this how our married life would be until retirement?
As time went on, Victoria and I became progressively more absorbed into our own educational and professional responsibilities. With that came some emotional distancing. I understood why she was so very busy. Yet, why wasn't she available when I needed her? Wasn't this the reason we married?
Thanks for listening to this project from 1C Productions, where thought-provoking media comes alive. Be sure to check out other 1C shows like Freevangelic, in which a married couple discuss their walk out of lifelong evangelicalism and into a new way of being. Their search for truth might open doors for you as well. Learn about Freevangelic and other 1C Productions podcasts at just1c.com. That's JUSTONEC.com.
You've been listening to Making the Cut from 1C Productions. Making the Cut was written, produced, and directed by Rebecca Seitz, based on Michael McGead's manuscript, Mastering the Knife. Noah James played Michael McGead. Other roles brought to life through the vocal talents of Nicola Waldron and Trisha Brio. Audio engineering provided by Zisher LLC. Making the Cut theme music by Kyle J. Baker. Learn more at makingthecutpodcast.com.